Scientists have looked at data from weather balloons since 1980 and calculated that the Earth's troposphere is expanding like a balloon. Here are the details. Scientists recently published a study in the journal Science Advances showing that the lowest part of Earth's atmosphere, called the troposphere, is expanding at an increasing rate. The troposphere stretches from sea level up to around 7 kilometers high at the poles and up to around 20 kilometers at the equator. It is the layer that contains most of the atmosphere's moisture and heat, so it is where most of Earth's weather is formed. The researchers say the data shows that this layer has been expanding by 50 meters per decade between 1980 and 2000. However, since 2000, the rate has increased to 53.3 meters per decade. They say the expansion is mainly being caused by global warming, but another contributing factor is the shrinking of the stratosphere, which is the layer above the troposphere. The stratosphere shrank due to new technologies releasing ozone-depleting gases into the air, which in turn depleted the stratosphere, which in turn caused the troposphere to expand. Global legislation managed to limit the release of these gases, but the remnants still affect the stratosphere. The researchers noted, the study captures two important ways that humans are changing the atmosphere. The height of the tropopause is being increasingly affected by emissions of greenhouse gases, even as society has successfully stabilized conditions in the stratosphere by restricting ozone-destroying chemicals. The flatlands of the Siberian tundra were shaken by a violent and powerful explosion that blew out a huge crater 30 meters deep. CNN reports that this explosion last year was the 17th blowout crater to appear in Russia's remote Yamal and Gida Arctic peninsulas, since the first was spotted in 2013. The new crater also offered the first opportunity for scientists to use drones to build a 3D model of the crater. The 3D model largely confirmed what scientists had hypothesized. Methane gas builds in a cavity in the ice, causing a mound to appear at ground level. The mound grows in size before blowing out ice and other debris in an explosion, leaving behind a massive crater. What's still unclear is the source of the methane. It could be coming from layers deep within the Earth, or closer to the surface, or a combination of the two. Scientists believe that the frozen earth of Siberia's tundra acted as a plug that kept the methane trapped. As the region warms up and the permafrost melts for the first time in recorded history, it's expected that the methane blowouts would become more frequent. Scientists found that Earth's northernmost jet stream is in trouble. They say that if this weather-controlling air current migrates northward, the US and Europe are in for centuries of nasty weather. Here are the details. In a new study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, scientists warn that the planet's northernmost wind channel, called the North Atlantic Jet Stream, will start migrating northward if the Earth keeps warming up. This would impact North America and Europe in the form of more severe flooding, droughts, and heat waves. The jet stream is a band of fast-moving air that is created by the difference in pressure between cold Arctic air and warmer air to the south. It is also known for giving airliner jets a time-saving boost when they travel from the US to Europe. The study's researchers bored deep holes in the Greenland ice sheet and looked at the way snow layers had been deposited over the last 1,250 years. From this, they calculated the past positions and intensity of the powerful air current. They say that while the current fluctuations in the jet stream's position and intensity are still within historic bounds, their calculations indicate that the weather-controlling air current would migrate northward by 2060 if greenhouse emissions continue at the current pace. The study found that in 1374, the jet stream moved northward and caused a drought and famine in Spain and Portugal. When the jet stream's wind intensity decreased by 50% in 1728 and 1740, it led to cooler temperatures and less rain, causing famines in Ireland and Britain. A team of scientists who study the world's ocean currents say the increased melting of Arctic freshwater is causing an imbalance in the salinity of seawater in the North Atlantic. They say this could lead to a very sudden shutdown of the current that carries warm water to the planet's northern reaches, causing a sudden and dramatic drop in temperatures in North America and Europe, as well as disastrous food shortages worldwide. Here are the details. The Guardian reports that climate scientists have detected warning signs of the collapse of the Gulf Stream, one of the planet's main potential tipping points. The research found an almost complete loss of stability over the last century of the currents that researchers call the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation, or AMOC. The currents are already at their slowest point in at least 1,600 years, but the new analysis shows they may be nearing a shutdown. Such an event would have catastrophic consequences around the world, severely disrupting the rains that billions of people depend on for food in India, South America, and West Africa. While increasing storms and lowering temperatures in Europe, the AMOC is driven by dense, salty seawater sinking into the Arctic Ocean, but the melting of fresh water from Greenland's ice sheet is slowing the process down earlier than climate models suggested. The analysis was based on fingerprints the AMOC leaves in surface temperature and salinity patterns. It showed a critical threshold is being reached beyond which the system may collapse. While the scientists are sounding the alarm, others sound less certain. David Thornalley of University College London, whose work showed the AMOC is at its weakest point in 1,600 years, said, "The signs of decreasing stability are concerning, but we still don't know if a collapse will occur or how close we might be to it." On Monday, August 9th, the UN's Science Panel published a study that shows how humanity is running out of time to do something about the steady increase in global temperature. On Tuesday, a professor published a short list of simple solutions that would solve the crisis. The professor's article is called "We Have 4 Years Left to Keep Warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Here's how we can do it." A day after the UN's Science Panel warned that humanity has only 4 years left to stop the trend of increasing global emissions, Matthew Patterson, research director of the Sustainable Consumption Institute at the University of Manchester, published a plan for how this trend can be halted. Writing in The Conversation, he says to limit the globe's warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we need to take these fairly simple steps as soon as possible. First, we need to ban all new coal-fired power plants, all new oil and gas operations, and all airport expansions. In essence, the world could agree to a fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. Existing coal plants could be rapidly replaced with renewable sources of energy, like wind farms. Radical improvements could be made in the energy efficiency of buildings. Instead of using natural gas for heating and cooking in buildings, people should only use electricity. Ground transport could be decarbonized by a shift to electric vehicles, such as electric cars, trucks, buses, and trains. Last, people should move away from private cars toward bicycling, walking, and public transport. Patterson says achieving all of this in 10 years is technically possible, but there are significant obstacles that are fundamentally political. For instance, fossil fuel companies continue to fight to prevent action that threatens their profitability, lobbying governments to weaken legislation and to protect their subsidies.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.